Today we are going to read chapter 4 of the book Someone Was Watching. If you have the book, go ahead and follow along with me, or you can just read on the screen. Chapter 4. Despite going to bed early and sleeping late, Chris felt exhausted on the trip home the next day. He tried reading and dozing off. He tried looking at the scenery and dozed off. When he awoke, his mom was asleep and his dad had his window rolled down and the radio turned up. Sure signs that he too was fighting sleep. 5 minutes later, they pulled into a rest area and his mom took over the driving duties. Chris and his dad were both asleep before they'd gone a mile farther down the highway. When Chris woke up again, they were pulling into their driveway. His mom braked the car in front of the garage and turned off the ignition. It was suddenly quiet. "The house looks nice," his mom said, resting her hand on his dad's shoulder. "It's good to be home," his dad said. He stretched back over the seat and tousled Chris's hair. Chris ducked and scrambled out the door. He stood by the side of the car grinning, hoping his dad would chase him. He was ready. But his dad got out and just looked at him for a long moment. "I like your hair like that, Chris," he said finally, a smile in his eyes. "It reminds me of when you were a little kid." Chris felt the top of his head. His hair was sticking straight up. "Back when you were still cute," his dad said. Chris knew he was kidding, but he remembered when his dad and mom used to tell him what a cute kid he was. He hadn't heard it for a long time. "You still think I'm a cute kid?" he asked. "None cuter," his mom said, getting out of the car. Suddenly she got that funny, faraway look in her eyes that Chris had seen too often in the past few months. He knew she was thinking about another cute kid. His dad must have seen the look too. "How could you miss with such good-looking parents, Chris?" he said with a smile. He turned to Chris's mom. "We passed our good looks on to both of our kids, didn't we, honey?" he said. Chris felt relieved. His dad wasn't going to ignore what everyone was feeling. His mom smiled bittersweet, Chris thought, understanding the word as he never had before. She looked at him and through him. "We sure did," she said, slipping an arm around his dad's waist. "I'm glad you think so," Chris said. He grabbed his bag and headed for the house. When he got there, he found a piece of paper taped to the front door. Curious, he took it off, unfolded it, and looked at some familiar handwriting. It was a note from Pat. "Chris, I came by to see if you're home yet. You weren't. Hope everything went okay at the river. Call me when you get back. Pat." "From Pat?" his mom asked, reaching the front steps. "Yeah," Chris said. "I'm supposed to give him a call." His dad unlocked the door and nudged it open. "I think you should," he said. Chris rushed through and was almost to the phone before his dad called after him. "But before you make any plans, Chris, your mom and I thought it would be good to look at the tape tonight. What do you think?" The tape. Now that this was out in the open, they weren't about to sweep it back under the rug. Chris decided he knew what tape they were talking about. He hadn't forgotten it. As far as he knew, it was still in the camera. He stared at the phone for a moment before answering them, trying to think of what might be on the tape, trying to think if he wanted to see it. He decided he did. "Sounds like a good idea to me," he said. "Okay if Pat comes over for it too?" He couldn't see their faces, but for a moment he heard the silence of their exchanged glances. Then his dad's voice. "He might as well. He's just about one of the family." Then his mom. "And ask him to come for dinner, Chris. Tell him spaghetti. Lots of it." "Thanks," Chris said, picking up the phone. Now he hoped Pat could come and would want to. He figured he'd need the company.